Hello and welcome. In this tutorial we're going to talk about part 2 of implementing a paperless OCR system. The first piece we're going to look into is high level. The way that we want to set this up, let's say hypothetically that we have multiple offices, each one of them sending multiple scans. As we can see, here's an example of a scan. We just have 5 different pages. However, let's make the assumption that instead of 5 there were 500. Let's start with the ones that are sent electronically, so offices B and C. If they were sending a scan, you want to have a location that they were sending that scan to, a file folder in this case. So here's an example file folder they would be sent. Or you'd want to set it up where everyone would understand that you are sending it to one email address, and the person getting that email would be the person putting it in this. What we'd want to do here is to make sure that each one of these PDFs were labeled with the date that they were coming from and the office that they were originating from as well. Let's say that in this scenario we had these scans that were sent electronically. However, this office D here was sending material electronic to billing NAR, or that location that we talked about earlier. If there was another office that was passing off that PDF to office D, you would prefer just for that electronic information to go to the billing NAR altogether. So we'd want to make sure that information was going direct. However, if information wasn't going direct and we had to have that go through D first, make sure that office D does not print off. If they can, they do not print off any information. It is very difficult to get other offices to do their own paperless implementation. It is much easier to have billing NAR print off documentation and rescan it in than it is to train each one of these. However, if each one of these offices do contain paper already and all they have to do is just scan it, they must keep a paper copy for themselves for legal and or other reasons, then it's much easier for office C and B to scan information on electronically and not have billing NAR. What this means is that offices A, B, C, and E must contain printers that are capable of OCR processing, or in other words, putting a thin OCR layer over the actual PDF that has been scanned in. Most scanners on the market today are capable of OCR scanning. You'll notice that these printers do have OCR scanning capability because you can highlight that text, whereas it will not have OCR capability if, when you hover your cursor over text, it looks like this crosshairs when it is supposed to having italics. Another challenge you'll find when you are implementing OCR is that Office A, in this example, they'll actually move the paper physically between this office and your billing NAR department. For this to work, you need all offices to have material that is scannable. Now that we've gotten the high-level portion of this video, we will concentrate on the actual mechanics. So let's say that we did receive from Office B sent us a PDF. And in this example, we're going to use these shoes that I ordered for my brother. And what we have is our control log. In the case of many companies, this control log will probably be anywhere between 50 to 2,000. In many situations, the control log will have sales orders and purchase orders. And the number of sales orders and purchase orders will usually be more than the number we have here. It'll be closer to in between 50 to 2,000. And that 50 to 2,000 number depends on the number of pages that each one of those offices sent us. In this case, we have 5 pages. The best method of making sure that data is grabbed from the bottom of your text is to move your cursor where you see italicized towards the bottom. Sometimes this requires highlight a couple of bits of text, click on the bar, move it all the way to the top, move your cursor over where you see italicized, hold the shift key, left click, you'll see everything highlighted. Move down, move your cursor down as much as you can. Make sure that all the text is grabbed, otherwise you'll have to do this again. And you go and hover over the text, you'll notice the key change types, and then right click and then copy. Click on your Excel page, right click and paste. And sometimes it'll take, especially with more than 10,000 characters, this will take a while for it to populate. This will work with almost up to 300 pages. As you've noticed here, this is the formula we're implementing, and what the formula does is it's searching for that tracking number within this column here. And if it finds it, it tells me true. If it doesn't find it, it says false. The reason we have this number of errors is because I made sure that we made a couple of in order for us not to find it, just so we could show the audience how it would work. And then what we do here is we look for this product code, we copy it from here, we go back to the page, we do a Control F, or magnifying glass, and we search the PDF, and we look here. We can zoom in on the information, and we'll notice that it did find the universal product code, but there was something with the tracking number that just didn't work right. We double checked the tracking number 1x6EX015, etc. And what we noticed in here, if we were to search through this long section here, we would find the universal product key by doing a Control F, putting in the UPC, finding next, and if we look through this section, we could also find these data. This happens to be the tracking number. If we go all the way to the top, let's say we were to print the tracking number, the OCR didn't recognize the fact that there were a couple of zeros between that, the EX015. Now, if we were to take out the zeros and make it look the same as we see the one above here, that would change the true as it has now. So that is one of the limitations that we have to deal with when looking at this type of system, is that you have to make sure that you have double indemnity, or you have two different ways of looking up that information. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to find the sales order and purchase order that you're looking for. Once we have the sales order and purchase orders looked at, we notice because we have these two falses, what we can do is we can print out that page and then rescan it OCR, or as is the case in many companies, what they do is when they save that PDF, instead of reprinting that scan, they just rename the file and mention which sales orders had trouble, or have some kind of comment in here for staff to know that those two sales orders had some issues with the OCR, and that in fact the person who was needing to look at it, they needed to pull out a different number. Now that we're done making sure that the control log is accurate, made sure that all sales orders are correct, or at least we know that we have all of them, and of course we've gone through the PDF and we've renamed it for those one sales order which in this case was false and it couldn't find it, so that we know that in the future we will be able to find it. Most of the time you're going to want to designate the AR to look only at one specific field. In this case it's our tracking number, but usually this is going to be your sales order. And the secondary field is usually going to be your purchase order. In this case it's your universal product code. For AR to quickly retrieve sales orders, what they must do is copy the information within the sales order. Let's say that they were given a list of sales order, and go to the location where they know all their PDFs exist. Click on the search bar and Control V. Automatically, most computers will find that documentation. In this case, we have 3 because there are 3 separate copies of the PDF. Once they get in here, they do a Control F and a Control V so they can find it. In this case, we got an exact match, and they have the tracking number that they need to print out, or in most cases, it would be a shipping order. Thank you very much for listening to this tutorial. Again, please share, like, and subscribe. If there are any questions, put them in the search box below, as we'd love to hear them.